Cheryl's channel. We're live. Hey, a few minutes early. Cheryl wants me to, or Zelda wants me to put some radio chatter on the air ahead of time here, so I can handle that. What I'm going to do here is I have an antenna tuner. This tunes the antenna. Then the radio is turned on. See if there's anybody talking.
Talked to Nick in a couple days. I talked to you early this morning. I said Snap was joined early this morning. Okay, he was on this morning. Okay.
There's somebody having a conversation on shortwave. I have no idea where they are.
Earlier, but you never know. He might break in here. You can't never tell.
This is WB6EGS. We're doing a little ham radio demonstration. Could anybody give me a location where they are? We're in Eagle Creek, Oregon.
Ricky, did you understand what he said? I didn't understand a word of what he said. I'm talking to your mic a lot better. You had no audio. Try it again.
Okay, how's that? WB6EGS.
I want a radio check or a demonstration or something. Can you speak into your mic?
I got a bad SWR. I'll have to get back to you. Thank you, WB6EGS.
Oh, I understood something about WB6. I couldn't understand what he was saying. I'm sorry.
That's not SWR on the rising top.
I can't understand the language you're speaking. Yeah. Hello, good afternoon. Happy New Year. And all that stuff. Is that Dale? What's that? Was that Dale that came in there? Oh, that was my neighbor. Oh, okay. How was Don? Hello, Ricky. How's it going? Oh, it's just trolling around here. And so that's the one I worry about. Yeah. Well, I do have an antenna switch that I use to switch the transceivers on my, I'm gonna call them my stack of Kenwoods. You know, my 820 and my two 830s. I have a stack of them, and I do use an antenna switch. It's an old Barker and Williamson, and I switch the radios, the transceivers with that one. And that's the one that worries me the most. That's the one I'm kind of concerned about. And
are you live?
Yeah.
You should see my mess. To get a signal out here in this room where I'm at right now, I have to switch on the antenna panel. I have to switch a jumper, and then I come to the stack of Kenwoods, and I have a barrel connector there where I have to switch a jumper. And then I walk into the other room, and underneath the bench, I have to switch a jumper which goes between my QRP rig and then the other side of the room where I have the low power transmitters, like my Ranger right now. But then if I'm working on something on the bench, I have to switch a jumper there to use
What you're hearing is that's something I've heard for 50 years. You can have your name here. Well, that's a repeater. Anyway, I hope there's some hams here. If you are, please feel free to write down your ham call sign. Yeah. CQ, CQ, CQ. We'll tell you what that means. There's some language that you may want to learn about, and we have Tom, who's also a ham radio operator. So you got three hams in a shack, and no sandwiches. So please give a thumbs up. And even if you're listening to this at a later afterwards on a replay, just feel free to leave a question. And we may have an answer, we may not. Who knows? But this is my husband. We've been married for almost 49 years, almost 50 years. We met. I was 17 when I met him. I didn't know anything. I didn't even know the word ham radio. And he was studying. He was in college, getting his biomedical engineering degree. And for good times, he would turn on his ham radio, and I would just roll my eyes. Oh my goodness! And then he worked part-time while he was in college for. Who'd you work for in San Diego?
Well, let's see. It was Western Radio.
Yeah, Western Radio. And you repaired marine radios.
And CB radios.
CB. Yeah, we got some CB stories. I'll share that in a little bit. I'm going to go lock my cat in the house. He's chasing my bobwhite quail. Those are quail. They're bobwhite quail. So we have 8 of them out here, and the cat is trying to make a snack. So you want to talk a little bit, and I'll be right back.
All righty.
You might show them the goodies around the room.
Yeah.
And by the way, this place is wired with security that is monitored off campus.
Let me move your drink so you don't have an accident.
I'll be right back.
Over here. All right. Well, good afternoon. I'm going to tell you a little bit about ham radio. And if, for those of you who may not know what really ham radio is, it's officially called amateur radio. It's been around for quite a long time, since the turn of the 20th century. A little after that. Anyway, ham radio is a licensed service, and anybody, any U.S. citizen can become a ham radio operator, but you have to pass a test. Back a number of years ago, when I first became a ham radio operator, you had to know the Morse code. You had to be able to pass a Morse code test. Morse code is not used that much anymore, so they deleted that part of the test. So now it's just a multiple choice test to get your license, and it's administered by the Federal Communications Commission. But they have people that are ham operators that are allowed to give the ham test here in the field, wherever you are around the U.S. Now, what do you do with it? Well, it's really it's limited by your imagination and your pocketbook and your spare time. And I'm serious. If you want to get into it, I mean, oh my goodness. Here's some examples of what ham radio is good for. First of all, it's a means of talking to other people all over, locally or all around the world, to communicate with them in all different manners and ways and shapes and forms, all by radio. It includes you talk on what's called shortwave, which is potentially you can talk around the world, and I have one right here that I can do that with. You can talk locally to people that are in your maybe about 100-mile radius, and I have radios that do that here. You can talk via the internet. I mean, we're doing that right now, but as a ham radio type thing. You can even communicate with the International Space Station. They have a ham radio on the space station, and they have times when you can just pick up portable radio, and as they fly by, you can talk to them on the radio. Some people like moon bounce. They send signals bouncing off the moon, and it comes back and hits the Earth, and so they can talk to each other halfway around the world using the moon to bounce off it. You can talk to each other directly on shortwave, and that's what I do a lot. You can use the Morse code if you want. There's some of the channels are used for Morse code. You can reach even. You have to reach out better in some ways using Morse code, but that's another story. So a lot of people use ham radio now, especially all around the world. They use it for emergency communications. You'll find that most 911 dispatch centers here in the United States have ham radios right there in the dispatch centers. They'll be in a separate room or a closet or whatever. And if there's an emergency where communications is limited, they can communicate with the local people or even around the world using the 911 dispatch centers. I know here in the greater Portland area, there's many amateur radio clubs, people who have the common interest in ham radio, and they get together on the air, and they talk to each other, and they are geared up a lot for emergency services, for helping people if there's a problem. Our local fire department, out where we live here, almost all of the employees have their ham radio licenses, so they if the main communications system breaks down, or for instance, if there's a major power outage, this way they can communicate. They can still talk to each other wherever they are in the local area within a 100-mile radius. It's pretty interesting. So really awesome. Now let me tell you a little bit about what it takes to get your ham license, if this sounds interesting to you. And it should, because in the environment we live in right now, if you have if you depend on My wife is sowing seed outside to call the birds. Yeah, I work for the birds. I guess that's. But anyway, um, if you want your ham radio license, and this sounds interesting to you, then uh, you go to a website that will give you all the information you need. And
iPhone, yeah.
telephone.
We have some, what is it, Bob White quail.
She got some quail out there. She wants to go out.
Bob White quail.
Okay, can I close the door?
Yeah.
So it's cold outside. It's nice in here. Anyway, yesterday I shared some information. I was incorrect on the suffix. You go to the website, www.ARRL, that stands for American Radio Relay League, ARRL.org, O-R-G. And there on that site, they'll give you all the information you need to get trained for your license, or give you the information you need to get your license. And they'll tell you where you can go to get your license and when it's available. Usually it's like once a month. In Portland here, some of the ham radio clubs actually have they'll have a license meeting where you can go to take the test. And by the way, if you take the test, all you have to do is learn the information, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute. All you need to do is learn the information so that you can take the test, multiple choice test. Usually, I think it's like 35 questions. The last time I was involved, they were holding it at a local pizza parlor. Of course, COVID has changed that for the time being, but you go to a pizza parlor at 7 o'clock on a Sunday night, and there'd be people there in a back room, and you go in there, you pay your $15 to take the test. You show your ID so they know who you really are. So you are allowed to have a pencil and a calculator, not an iPhone. I mean, you can have an iPhone, but only you can use calculator mode. And they'll hand you the test. You sit out, you take the test, you hand it back to them. They'll correct it right there on the spot. If you pass, they say you passed, and you get your first level of ham radio license, which is called technician. So that it used to be there's a few more licenses, but they've narrowed it down now. So you get your license. It's called the technician license. And that license allows you to do everything there is to do on VHF and UHF and on up. So there's all kinds of stuff you can do. And most people are satisfied with that. If you want to take the next level of test, it's called the general test. And the general test allows you to operate on shortwave. And shortwave is where you get the real long distance stuff. I mean, you can talk directly to places all over the globe. And it depends on the time of day or night, too. It depends on conditions. So that gives you kind of the general view. Now, going back to the ARRL.org on the internet, on there you can look on the site, and you can actually download the information that will be on the test. So what they do is for every question on the test, they pick it from a pool of 6 questions. So when you memorize, when you download it, here's this question, and they'll give you the right answer. There's A, B, C, or D. You'll know, okay, here's the right answer. So you just need to remember when you see that question, you need to remember that correct answer. And so you'll have 6 questions to learn for every question that you'll be asked on your test. So you can just download that, and take your time and learn it. It took me about, let's see, I guess it took me about 4 weeks. It took me about a month, just an hour a day. Okay, so it doesn't take a lot of time. It'd take an hour a day, and I read a bunch of questions, and then learn the answers, and then um, go back. And after about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I was ready to take the test. So that's how you get the license. But then there's a lot to learn about ham radio. For instance, in the test, you'll actually be learning a lot of the, what's expected of you, that you always have to use your call sign every so many minutes of operation, so that so everybody will know who you are. And there's people who try to get on there that don't have a proper license, but there's a website. It's called qrz.com, and you go on there. If somebody has a call sign, you can just type it up, and it'll tell you their name and where they live and everything about them. And if it doesn't match the guy that's on the air, then you know that he's not licensed, and you can go after him. So it's really a nice uh, type of an activity to have. It's great for emergencies, and by the way, you will meet a whole different strata of people than you've ever met before. Um, there are people that are in high positions of government. There's people in positions of all walks of life that have their ham radio licenses, and they're active on the ham radio bands. A lot of people in the television, people that are in commercial radio, in manufacturing, mining, you name it, just everything and everywhere. People are ham radio operators, and you can become friends with people you had no idea that you'd ever be able to meet. And you can join a local amateur radio club. You'll meet a whole pile of people and become friends with people that you had no idea that you meet, and you learn all kinds of new things. Does it cost you anything? Well, yeah, $15. And by the way, that your license is good for 10 years, and it's renewable for the rest of your life. That's a good deal. That's not expensive. Now you say, well, the radios aren't cheap. Well, that depends. That's where your pocketbook comes in. You can get on a ham radio pretty cheap nowadays. You can buy a brand new handheld portable radio. I don't have a complete ham radio, but here's an example. Here's one of mine. It's a Motorola, and has ham radio in it. But you buy a Yaesu or an ICOM or Kenwood, all kinds of manufacturers make ham radios. So you buy a ham radio that's handheld like this, probably anywhere from, or brand new, anywhere from like $100 to $300. So if you want to, and some of them are easier to operate, and that's probably if you're just starting out, you want something that's simpler to operate. Or you can get radios that have more stuff than you can shake a stick at. I mean, they're just unbelievable. So do a handheld radio. This will operate on VHF, and many of them are multi-band. They'll have VHF and UHF in one radio. And so you can communicate on all these different radio systems. One of the radio systems is called VHF and UHF. It's very common to use what's called repeaters. Now, repeaters are located mostly on mountaintops in really good locations. And what a repeater does is it simply repeats what you say. So you talk to the repeater on one channel. So on one radio channel, your transmission goes out and it reaches that repeater, that receiver that's up on a mountaintop, and then they turn around and take that your voice and they rebroadcast it on another channel with really high power. And when I say really high power, you're talking on a portable like this, maybe with 3 or 4 watts of power, and your voice will be rebroadcast from the top of a high mountain with several hundred watts. Oh my goodness. We got a crowd coming in here.
Hey, this is exciting stuff.
Oh yeah.
Bob, how are you?
Okay, we're live on the internet. So there's a mind your P's and Q's.
I can do that. How you doing?
All right, I'll just show you. We got some my close friends here. Okay, that's Gerald with a drink in his hand, and that's Tom. I still need to get Gerald to get his ham radio license. I'm gonna twist his arm really hard. Now see Cheryl.
Here I come.
Oh, Zelda's coming in here.
Wow, they know me. Zelda and Cheryl.
Okay, well.
Zelda.
You have to
I'll squeeze in.
find a spot
Ain't
here.
that fat. Ooh, between two single guys.
Wow.
What will I do?
There you go. There you go.
You like old fat chicks?
Okay. All right.
Put it that way.
All right, look at this bunch. All right.
I'm KF7EDE.
And I'm WB6DGS, and you're
Tom?
WB7 NHL.
okay.
WB7 NHL. That's Tom. And
All
he's available. He's single. And he's cute. He's handsome. Daryl's handsome too.
Oh.
But
Oh,
he,
good.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
he builds nice houses.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Where was I?
Is
Oh,
Kermit here? Hi, Kermit.
Kermit's here. He says hi, Zelda, with a thumbs up. Let's see, Crystal's Pets and Plants.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah. I'm her sub. She's my sub.
Oh, okay. So we have other people who could be listening at a different time, right?
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
like that.
Anytime they can
Okay.
join after the live is over. It'll be loaded up and available for people to watch later.
Okay.
Please share, like, and subscribe because you never know when I'm going to post something. Might be me choking Otis
Yeah, Otis
has been naughty.
he's our Chihuahua. He's really loving, but he's also a real pain sometimes.
But since we lost Marley, our golden retriever, he's been acting out.
Yeah. All right. Maybe I was telling you about repeaters. So the repeaters will rebroadcast your voice from a high mountaintop, so that instead of you just talking for maybe 7 or 8 miles or something with a little handheld radio, now you're talking hundreds of miles. Okay, using a repeater. So that's really awesome stuff.
Is it like a CB when you're going down the truck stop?
No.
I should share that
Yeah.
story one of these days. Huh?
Yeah, really. Okay, you'll see. You say, well, how do I find these repeaters? Well, there's a book right here. The ARL compiles and sells this book, and this has they upgrade it every once a year. They upgrade it, and what this does, it has a listing of all of the repeaters. Okay, there's a listing here. So you're looking at Oregon, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon. Here we are. And so here's a. I can see this or not.
Okay, we're going live in about 5.
Okay, there's a shows you some of the repeaters. So you just in your radio, you simply type in, right? You type in the frequency listed in this book.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I turned it down. It went back up. Okay.
So you type in the frequency listed in the book, type it into your radio, and then give it a channel number. Give it a channel number, and then you can just talk on that repeater. Just push the button and talk. Now, I do have this. I have a ham radio repeater up on Goat Mountain, which is about 15 miles away from here. It's up at the elevation of over 4,000 feet. And the antenna is on the very top of the tower up there. It's a public safety communications site, but I have a lease up there. And so I'm going to turn on one of my ham radios here. There. And I'll turn on my little portable radio. There. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to push the button and talk on my little portable radio, and then I have a mobile radio. It's out of sight. Let me turn around where you can see it. There. Now you see this radio right here? Okay. So I'm going to push the button on my little radio, and you'll hear my voice coming out of the radio, but it won't be coming right from my little radio, handheld radio. You'll hear it coming from the repeater. Right? You ready? WB6EGS. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. Thank you. Okay. That was my voice. Of course, it's kind of echoing because I'm so close to the speaker.
You want me to do one?
And then I also have digital mode on my repeater, so I switched to digital mode. I switched the radio to digital mode. Now, when I talk on the radio, it'll be in digital communications mode. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, that's trippy.
WB6EGS. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Okay. See, the digital has a delay to it because it has to, convert your voice to digital, send it up to the repeater up on the mountaintop. It cleans it up, and then rebroadcasts your voice in digital down here to this radio, and then this radio has to decode it. All right. So ham radio is both analog and digital. You talk to repeaters, you talk to each other. Like I said, we have a local fire department that talks on the ham radio repeater when they want to just talk to each other. They used it the last fire season, which is pretty neat. They had emergency communications going on there. So now,
and then when we had the solar, what was it, where we had the sun, where that sun went down out. What was that called? Oh,
Eclipse.
The Eclipse a couple years ago.
Hey, they're raiding my stuff. I got a little refrigerator in here,
There's cookies in there,
and there's cookies.
but there's no gluten-free cookies.
No
right?
gluten-free cookies.
So anyway, remember when they had the solar eclipse, and it was just 10 miles from here where it was a full solar eclipse, so we could just drive down there. And so there was supposed to be millions of people on the highway down here. And it's just a 2-lane highway going into Colton. And the police were, and the fire and everybody was just terrified because we couldn't handle 1 million people on the highway. So you know what they did? The weather. Yeah, it was supposed to be, the weather said it was going to be clear, and it was crystal clear, but the weather forecast said it was pouring rain and you couldn't see the eclipse.
Oh.
So millions of people abandoned their plans and they went to Madras and choked out the Madras area. But anyway, they needed our ham radio repeater for their communications because they just didn't have enough bandwidth, or what is it? They don't have enough bandwidth during the fires.
I can't eat what I'm talking about. I got some to.
Oh, I'm fine. I'm good right now. But that's where you normally lift it from, and you can
Really?
reseal it.
Oh,
No,
okay.
that's all right.
We'll put some in Thank you, Tom. I'll eat one. I'll get sick. Anyway, so this is something that you can do for your area, and we're part of a medical team where what is the name of that team? Anyway, where all these doctors and medical doctors and medical people are part of the
Northwest
team.
medical teams?
Yeah. You know, the ones for, what is it, that doctor, what's his name? He's the OB doctor. Anyway, they're all getting their ham license, and because they're worried about what can happen. The sun is our biggest threat, and then there's certainly countries that would like to take our grid down. Like Ben Carson said that our grid system is 100 years ago it was antiquated, and he was going to run for presidency. Do you remember Ben Carson? He's known as Gifted Hands. He's the one that separated these conjoined twins. He's the same faith we are, and of course we wanted him to be president, and he had a lot of good ideas, and that was to rebuild our grid system and not be so vulnerable as it is. But if we had anything, we're going into a grand solar minimum, and it's looking like it's patterning after the Maunder minimum or the Dalton minimum, which is pretty dangerous because the sun will react. The sun needs to equalize with the Earth, and when it sends a flare, it talks to Earth, and then our North Pole is changing. I didn't know this until I got into geology. I was studying geology in the mid-90s, so I was going to get my degree. I wanted to do forensic geology. But anyway, we may lose our power grid because of the sun. And in 1859, it's called the Carrington Event. Look it up. I'll write that. You want to write down K-A, just right there in the notes. Right there. I'll do it. I'll do it. Anyway, look up Carrington Event that happened in 1859, where some of the telegraph wires caught fire, and the operators were shocked because of what happened. And if that happened today, if we had the same level as we did then, it was an electromagnetic pulse from the sun. It will wipe out all our communication satellite. So there goes part of the power grid, direct TV, our cell phones, internet. We will not have it. Look what happened in Mexico just recently. What is it, the other day? They lost all their power. Mexico City and quite a large area. That happened in San Diego. Talk about the San Diego blackout.
First of all, comment one.
If you can have a cookie.
Yeah, come on over. We have Oreos over here. He wanted to know if you have a portable radio, if you can use it in your car. And the answer is yes. It depends on the state, I think. What the state laws say. But there is a slight difference. In other words, if you're operating a cell phone in a car in New York now, I think it's a fine. That just started today, January 1.
What's fine?
If you have your cell phone in your hand in your car, you're fined.
Even if you're listening to YouTube radio or something, you can get fined.
I didn't read the fine print, so
Keeping track of Lori Vallow and Ted Daybell, who are getting, by the way, they're getting charged with murder. Yay, finally.
I'm not sure. I'm losing my track of
The blackout in San Diego. Tell what happened.
Okay.
I'll get the date. It was September.
Yeah, this goes back probably, 8 years? Some technician in Arizona at a substation hit the wrong key on his laptop, literally, and caused there to be a grid collision, which took the grid down. And it took everything from Arizona going west to San Diego and Orange County, Riverside County, Yuma County, northern Mexico, in Baja California. And I went to school. In fact, I was in training in San Diego that day. And I got in my car after training, and I drove to the Lindbergh Field, the airport in San Diego, and I noticed while I'm driving downtown, it's still daylight, and everybody's standing in the street. And I noticed that the street lights were not working. I go, oh my gosh, there's been a power outage. Well, the airports always have power, right? So he said, well, this won't be a problem. So I took my car back to Avis, turned it in, and the shuttle was still running to the airport. So they took the shuttle. I got there to the desk. And they said, and they just had emergency lights on inside the airport. I went, what? They don't have power for everything? They said, no. They have emergency power just to keep the place lit, but not enough power to operate the TSA. Yeah. TSA was not able to operate, so they can't let anybody into where the gates are. So so I had another friend from the same class, and he was flying back up to Seattle. So we both sat there on the floor, wondering, now what do we do? All flights are canceled. Incoming flights are allowed to land, and they're allowed to let people leave, but nobody can go in. The only place at the airport that had power was the tower, just the tower. I go, well, this is no good. So we said, well, maybe I can go rent a car. And so we went back over to Avis, and they said, well, I'm sorry, our computers are down. We can't rent you a car, but since you just turned one in, we have your paperwork. So they said, so we'll rent a car back to you. So they did it handwritten. Use a credit card because they already had my credit card number, so they couldn't enter that. But they put it on paper. And they rented me a car full of gas. And so the cell sites were still working, but they started quitting after about 8 hours. Because all the cell sites have backup power, but only for usually about 8 hours of backup. And after that, the cell sites go down. The switch where all the cell sites talk to for the telephone system, that all goes down. So eventually there'd be no communications at all, no telephone, no nothing. So I was able to make some phone calls to contact my dad and a friend, and have a place to stay the night and get some food to eat. I was in my dad's house. He had no power. He says, well, we got some salami and bread. I go, I don't think so. So my friend was, well, I'm vegetarian. Well, I'm mostly vegetarian. Vegan, I know. Anyway, I went to my friend's house, and he had some food that we could eat, or stand to eat, I should say. And so power didn't come back till the next day. And there's no power at all of San Diego, Riverside, Orange County, Yuma County. It was really a bad scene. And that was over just one technician making a mistake on a laptop in a substation in Arizona. What if somebody has the mind to hurt the grid system and take it down? Your cell phone, your internet, your texting, all that stuff's just gone. And so what are you going to do? Call Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
No, but what you're going to do is you use your ham radio license. And then you can get on your ham radio, be it a portable radio or one in your car or whatever, and you can talk to other people all over the place. And you can get help and get communications. It's really awesome. So ham radio is fantastic for emergency situations. It's great for getting to know new people. So that's on the appliance operator end of it. Ham radio is all kinds of stuff. I mean, it includes microwave stuff. It includes ham radio or ham radio television. So you can do ham TV. Like I said, you can do moon bounce. You can bounce stuff off the moon. You can talk to the people in the International Space Station, ISS. You can talk to those people up there on your ham radio because they're ham radio operators too.
We can talk to the people in the. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they have a schedule because they don't do it all the time.
Oh, let's do that live next time.
Well, you have to find out when they're flying, when they're within range. You have to be above the horizon.
Oh, that would be fun. Put a thumbs up if you like that, and then subscribe to my channel, and I'll and hit the notification icon bell.
Okay, we got some. I don't know if you heard it. Oh, the other person. See if you're on the cell phone. Okay, there's generally ham radio is a exempted like the police are. So if you're talking in the microphone on a mobile radio, that in most states I think is still legal. If you can prove that you have a ham radio license and that you were talking on your ham radio.
But you should check with your local authorities.
Yeah, you better check with local authorities.
That's just your opinion. Don't sue us.
Yeah, this it's on a state by state basis. So, okay, let me show you a little bit of some of the radios I have, some of the stuff I have in here.
You want to show them your meter from the mountaintop?
Don't have a picture handy.
You can look through the window.
Well, you can't see the mountain right now.
Oh.
All right, here's what I have in my ham shack. I have just an AM shortwave radio, but just for monitoring. I have Sirius XM, so that's satellite radio. I have some clocks here that are tied into Fort Collins, Colorado, to get the digital time precisely.
Yeah, what is Greenwich? Talk about Greenwich time.
It's called Universal Standard Time now. They've renamed it. But this right here is the exact time. I have two of them so that if one doesn't get it right, then I'll know that there's a problem. But if they're in synchronization, and they are, if you see there, they're exactly synchronized. These are two separate radio receivers that receive time from WWV in Fort Collins, Colorado, and that's where time comes from, other than from the Lord. But on this planet, Fort Collins, Colorado is the originating source for time in the world. There are other standards around the world, but they're all synchronized together by international agreement. So it's really awesome. Greenwich, England. Yeah, originally they called it Greenwich Mean Time. That was a long time ago.
Were you there?
No, I've never been there. It's a kind of a nowhere place. But what it is the counting the hours is hour number 0, if you will, or for Greenwich Mean Time. So everything is compared around the world to the time in Greenwich. So if 0 hours there, it's 7 hours here on the Pacific Coast, and so on and so forth.
Look at somebody asked, "Are you using a public antenna?"
Public antenna? No.
Are you using a public antenna?
No, I'm using private antennas.
Okay, you want to show your antenna? You can step outside. Here, I'll step outside.
It's raining right now.
Oh, that's all right. I'll
This camera isn't gonna like
right,
that.
I won't get it wet.
You won't.
No. I'll go under the shed here.
You can't get very much further than the door over there.
Yeah, I know. Oh, we had some bobwhite quail here a few minutes ago. As you can see, it's always raining here in Oregon. Oh yeah, we can't see the mountain. It's 12 miles away. Oh, look at those birds. Yeah, I can't see the antenna, but that's part of the antenna there. You can see the antenna there. But it's pouring rain. Sorry. I'll post a picture.
Good.
Yeah. Should be able to bounce off the roof.
Yeah, you should be able to. All right. You come back in?
I'm hot.
You're hot?
Yeah.
Oh. All right. I'll continue showing what I got here in my ham shack. All right. I have a television. And it's just a flat screen TV, but it has, I have 2 satellite feeds, Dish Network, and then GeoSat Pro, GeoSat satellite receiver. So, and I also have local television antenna. So that way I have video from just about any source, right? I have a radio right here. Oh, let's see here. So you're shot at. Here, this right here is a VHF, UHF ham radio, and it has an antenna just outside on the roof, and that allows me to talk about 100-mile radius using repeaters. It also has an aircraft receiver in it, so you can listen to aircraft on it, which is pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. And moving right over here, I have a laptop, and so I have internet out here in my ham shack. I do have a CB. So I have a CB radio right there with an antenna. This right here is my Motorola ham radio. Okay, and then I have up here, this is a police radio on police frequencies, so I have to guard that one pretty carefully. I use it for in my work as a contractor for the local 911 systems. So there's a police radio, so I do have emergency police backup. I have a radio that's one with a handle on it up there. That's a FRS, Family Radio Service radio. So it's a 2-way radio, and I could talk to people. You know those little walkie-talkies that you buy for $40 a pair, kind of thing. All right. Well, those are on UHF. Those are UHF radios, and so this is a base station version of that. That way, I can communicate with anyone that's in trouble. Using an FRS radio or CB radio or VHF or UHF. And now here's my quote unquote big radio right there. Yeah.
Didn't I buy you a Yaesu?
Yeah. Sure. Over a period of years, my honey has purchased these radios. Actually, I bought them and I handed her the bill. But then she hands it back to me. I don't know. Anyway, this radio right here, this radio right here has, it's a mobile radio, but I use it like a base station. And this has shortwave in it, and it puts out, it transmits 100 watts of power, 100-watt transmitter on shortwave. And that's enough to talk quite a long ways. I mean, you can talk across the United States, but it might be a little noisy, it might be a little difficult for people to hear you. But then for my birthday, Cheryl got me this. And this right here is an amplifier. And it's all legal. But so my ham radio, instead of just 100 watts, this hooks to this, and now this puts out 1,200 watts of power. So, 1.2 kilowatts. So that allows me to really talk a long ways, and that's why I can talk around the world under the right conditions. Because if I can hear them, they can hear me. All right. So let's do a little demo. Let me. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. Let me. Hang on.
I used it for quite a while, the Warrior being driven by the Cheyenne, and then of course Comanche was the Sept receiver. Of course I had those TR with the...
By the way, there's the ham radio on shortwave is divided into bands. In other words, there are little chunks, kind of like AM radio is a chunk, FM radio is a chunk. All right, so they divide up into chunks on shortwave too. So ham radio operators have exclusive use of certain chunks of radio spectrum on shortwave. So officially we call them a band. It's a chunk of frequencies. So how many people can talk on one band, for instance? Maybe 500, maybe 100, maybe 1,000. It's just amazing how many channels there are. So you just tune up and down until you find somebody talking, and you can, if they'll let you, you can join in. So just listen to these folks for a moment.
Their family as well. Today, I was semi-productive. I got the ICOM 7300 back in line and on the air with all this remodeling. I pulled all the office apart. Man, there's so much junk in here, books and stuff. And so for a while there, I was using the ICOM 7300 as a spacer between two 610s high. Anyway, it's back online, and I thought, well, why don't I get the SBE 33 and the SB1LA?
So here's another thing about shortwave. Most voice communications on shortwave uses a mode of operation called single sideband, and it's a very efficient way of transmitting your voice over the air. So on the receive side, when you're receiving it, you have to tune it in, and you can make it sound like a chipmunk, and then you get it down where it's just right. And I'll demonstrate that a little bit more here. Listen.
Everything's copacetic there with the Foscon set SBE stuff. And I think that's about it on the Terra, the Viking 500, and the Arnie LA and SX101A while the HRL60 is offline there. I could copy you guys the HRL60, but the intermittent stuff was kind of a nuisance. So I wanted your signal, so I could still copy you, but you guys would be 10, 20, 30 over on the S meter. And then
you see how you have to tune it in just right?
See what the kick in. It dropped over to the left bank. So I gotta get
Okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to this is a frequency that we use for our network during on Sundays. I'll tune up my transmitter on that frequency, and let's see if anybody's listening. So hold on, I'm changing modes now so I can turn my antenna up.
Oh, I wanted to ask a question.
Yeah.
In order to get your ham radio license, don't you have to know Morse code like dit da dit it dit
No.
da?
No, the Morse code has been eliminated from the ham radio license requirements.
And more CQs. What does CQ mean?
Well, it's simply a ham shorthand for saying you want to talk to somebody, see if somebody will talk to you. And we'll do that in just a moment.
Yeah. Seeking
you, yeah. It's the letters CQ, but yeah, you're right. That's the idea. All right, so I'm gonna. Okay, now I'm tuned up on my radio. So now I'm gonna go back over to, and I'm also gonna turn on the high power. Okay,
Ooh,
now
the lights will go dim.
Yeah, the lights might go off. Who knows? All right, you ready? This is WB6EGS, calling CQ 80 meters. CQ 80 meters for a test. This is WB6EGS, W Baker 6, Easy George Sugar, calling CQ 80 meters and standing by. Nobody's listening right now. I mean, this is the middle of the day. This is Friday afternoon for where we're at right now.
New Year's Day.
And it's New Year's Day, so people are doing lots of stuff. So they may not be on the radio right now. But that's how you do it. And right now I was broadcasting 1,200 watts of power. So I'm sure that I could be heard for probably a good 1,000 miles in every direction. But of course, west of here, there's nothing but the ocean. So not too many people out there. Might be some ships. All right, nobody on there. So that gives you a little short demo of my shortwave radio. I'm going to turn it back over to Zelda here, and if you have some questions, I'll be happy to.
Yeah. Tell them what you did when you were in Scotland. You're a descendant of Braveheart, William Wallace, and you have family with that William Wallace name, but you didn't get that.
No.
You just go by Dr. Wallace on the internet, just for grins and giggles. You want, and learning the alphabet. A is for Adam, B is for boy, C is for Charlie, D is for Delta, E is for Edward.
Echo, Frank, Sierra, all kinds of.
Okay, and what's that called?
It's called the phonetic alphabet.
The phonetic alphabet. Do you need to use that in ham radio?
A lot, because sometimes you're talking to people that are a lot of noise, where the signal is weak and it's hard to hear them, hard to understand what they're saying. But when they use the phonetic alphabet, it makes it very easy to tell what they're, to spell out what they're trying to tell you. Right.
Like when the scammers call me, trying to get my information. I always, B for Beavis. Oh yeah, B for Beavis. Should I tell my story about the CB radio?
I don't know if I'd mix up a CB story with a ham radio story.
But it's funny. It was back in the 70s. We were in a little orange VW. We lived in San Diego, and we had his grandparents had 20 acres and a summer home on Hood Canal, 600 feet of waterfront. And so anyway, we always went up there for vacation, and we were in our little VW coming back to San Diego, and there's nothing to do, on I-5, and I had my son was 18 months old or 3 years old. He's 50 something now. But anyway, we didn't know what to do, and we were listening to the CB radio. We had this big antenna with a little ball on the back, so he looked like a rat with a tail. And so we were listening to the truckers, and they were just making small talk. And so I got on it, and I says,
just a second. Yeah, Retro Engine says he has CB, and his handle was the Undertaker.
The Undertaker. What was our you remember?
The Flying VW.
Oh, the Flying VW. And then I got on there and I said, hey guys, here's Big Mama. Anybody got a copy on Big Mama here? And the needles started pinging, and all these guys in the trucks were talking to me, and they say, what's your name? I said, Big Mama. Oh, okay. Yeah, it says, I'll meet up for coffee at the next truck stop. Okay. I says, I'm wearing a bright pink muumuu, and I got flaming red hair. They said, what are you wearing? Oh, a big muumuu, bright pink muumuu. And then you can hear the other guys saying, hey, go to channel 17. Let's talk. And so I secretly listened in, and they says, oh man, she's wearing a big muumuu. She's probably a cow with flaming red hair. Anyway, they really took that. We went past the truck stop. Hey, Big Mama, this Big Mama here. Anybody got a handle on Big Mama? So that's how I became Big Mama. And it was, we were married in 1973. And because of your radio stuff, I was always listening to the police radios. And we would hear, we lived in El Cajon then, and I would go hear that there was a shooting somewhere or a fire, and I'd get in my car and go. And he says, man, you love that stuff. I said, yeah, I've always been interested in law enforcement. So that's what led me to go into become a sheriff's deputy in San Diego. I was a San Diego County deputy sheriff, but I didn't last very long. It was hard because women weren't accepted then in the early 70s. We were supposed to be matrons or transport the female prisoners that work in the jail. And show me your VW here. Get your little VW. So we collect VWs. We had a blue one and a yellow one and an orange one. And when I was 15, I was a naughty girl. I met this older gal, and she had a party, and there was drinking, but I didn't. I was misguided. I didn't have parental guidance. My parents were kind of absent here. Anyway, this guy was about 23, 24 years old, and he tried to kiss me, and I didn't want any of that, and he was drunk. Well, he left his keys on the table, and he went into the bathroom, and I took his keys, and I stole his VW and drove away. I was 15 years old, stole a Volkswagen. Anyway, that's not all. I've been driving. My dad broke his leg really bad, and I had been driving my dad all around because it was his right foot. Anyway, yeah, it was his right foot that was broken really bad, and he had surgery several times. So I had to drive when I was 12, and he would think I was going too slow, and he'd take his left foot and he'd put his foot on my gas, make me go faster, and that freaked me out. But anyway, so I knew how to drive, but driving a stick was a little bit difficult, and that VW was a stick. And when I went downhill and around the corner, I wrecked it, and I left it in a bunch of bushes, and then I just left it and I walked away. I don't know how I got home, but the next day, somebody took me home, and Bob, my father, was mowing the lawn, and he looked at me and he says, hey, your boyfriend brought your purse. Him and his wife brought your purse. You left your purse in his car that you stole. Oh my gosh. I got a well-deserved butt beating. Anyway, 15 and a half, and I stole a car. Let's see.
One somebody who says, Retro Engine says he's on a cop, so please be careful what you say.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not a cop anymore. So I know it's kind of dangerous when people know that you're in law enforcement because they don't like you. So anyway.
Also, we were asked to, again, to introduce.
Okay, this is Tom, our neighbor. He's recently widowed. His wife, Sue, was 64 when she passed away of lung cancer. And I'm married to Larry. We met when I was 17. I worked at Winchell's Donut. I got fired from there because they said I stole $10, but I'm not a thief. That broke my heart. To this day, I still cry about it. And this is Daryl. He's been our friend since 88, 89. I sold real estate. Daryl came to the rescue, and I couldn't believe how honest he was. Him and his brother, identical twins, but they don't look anything alike. Anyway, he's a good Christian man and a good friend. Anyway, yeah, Larry says we need to cut this short. Is there anybody that has any questions? And I thank you from the bottom of my heart that you came and joined us. And if you have are watching this later, with time constraints, I know not everybody could be here, but I'm glad for the 10,000 people that showed up just now. But please subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate that. Hit the notification icon bell so I can, you'll be notified. You never know what I'm going to post. It could be me playing the vintage pump organ or shooting at the cougar down the street. Yeah, we had cougar. We have a cougar problem here, and not old ladies looking for young men.
Oh,
Yeah, we had a cougar that was killing our pets, so the Fish and Game came and helped us. But I have a naughty Chihuahua, and I'm trying to learn how to play the piano, and I love it. Larry surprised me. My best, dearest friend, Lolita, and her husband Dan was Larry's best friend since 1977, and they married, and we were just always together when we lived down in San Diego. And Lolita had anaphylactic shock, and she died from reaction to anaphylactic to latex, and that was 3 days after Larry's dad died 3 years ago. And Larry, for Valentine's Day, Larry got me a 6-foot Boston Steinway grand piano. And I found a teacher, and I began learning how to play the piano, and I love it. I do that. That helps me cope with my pain and depression. So there's a question here. It says, yeah, we can all sub to each other's here. I can say that, others can't. YouTube is kind of stinky about it. So Retro Indian, we'll all join you. You're a good friend. Okay, everybody sub to Retro Engine Kermit, and everybody else here. I'm sorry, my eyesight's blurry.
Yeah, right, turn it off.
Yeah. Okay. God bless you. And remember, hit the notification icon bell because we'll have some more content about ham radio. Happy New Year.